They'll just stand by for just a minute or so.
They got another program for mid-sized business, up to 10,000 employees coming.
Is that second allocation?
No, this is a completely different one called Main Street.
The Main Street, yeah, mainstream fund. It's for businesses from 500 plus to 10,000. I think.
Yeah, but it's a different program. The rules are a little different, but
Yeah, like I think real estate is exempted out of it. So there's some other issues we're looking into on it too.
if you have a draft of the bill or the rules, maybe send them up to me, Jeff, because they're not up yet.
Absolutely.
So I'll give you.
Okay. Yep, either get a hold of me or Scott should get that out. Yep.
Yeah, just send it to me. I'll go through it.
Sounds good.
We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to say good afternoon and welcome everyone to today's Digital Town Hall with Congressman Jeff Van Drew. I'm Vicki Clark, President of the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very proud to host our Congressman and his staff and all of you today. For today's Town Hall meeting, we've asked that questions be submitted in advance, and I'd like to thank everyone who sent them in. And because we do have many questions to cover, the chat feature has been turned off, which is a little bit different than other formats that we've had with webinars that we've done so far. Unfortunately, we will not be able to take any questions during the session today, and we'll be providing information. You can actually see it on your screen now, and we'll pop that back up after the end of today's program. So I'd like to turn the comments now over to our chairman of the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, Doug Burke.
Thank you, Vicki. Good afternoon, everybody. A couple quick comments from me. I first want to thank our chamber staff. They've really been amazing these last few weeks. I think a lot of you folks on the call now have been on many of our other calls. We're trying to bring information to you in real time. As we all know, we're all in this together and things are changing so rapidly. It's important to stay ahead of things. Obviously our speaker today is very familiar with Cape May County and the challenges that we have down here. One other thing before I turn it over to our congressman is, there's a lot of challenges out there. There's a lot of bad things we're hearing, but we want to highlight some of the good that's going on. So, I ask our business community, I know that there's a lot of good happening and we're initiating a cause called Cape May County Cheers. So look for an email on that. We're asking we want to highlight the really good and positive stories that are happening and how we're rallying together to support one another and our business community and maybe motivate some others. And I'm going to turn it over to Congressman Van Drew, but Congressman, I would ask you were telling me as we were getting on the call a good thing that you were just doing. So if you could start with that would be greatly appreciated. And thanks for being with us today. First of all, I want to thank the Chamber for the good work that they've done through so many years. I've known Vicki. We don't want to say how long, right, Vicki? But that's not a secret, and she's done a great job, and you all have. And I'm very, very proud of you, and I'm proud of the work that you've done. Let me say a few things just quickly. And I know they've been repeated. I know they've been said on television. They are extremely important, and some things have changed. So if you are going to go out to the store, if you are going to go to the drugstore, for example, you should wear a mask, period. Wear a mask. And those are the masks that are a little less expensive. They are the surgical masks, but you should wear them. Secondly, make sure that, and I know you've heard it over and over and over again, I can't help it, it's the dentist in me, you should be washing and scrubbing your hands for 20 seconds with hot water with soap, which means like inside your head, you should be singing happy birthday twice, not once, but twice to make sure you're keeping clean. This really matters. I will tell you on the sad side, a friend of mine last night, died of COVID. This is serious business, so you have to be careful. Stay inside, keep super clean. If you're going to the store, if you really need to go to the grocery store or whatever, wear the mask. It's important. When you come in, wash your hands and everything else immediately. Frankly, I would change your clothes if you come in. The good news is
It struck me that we all have to do something. And of course, during politics, there's a lot of advertising and mean things that go back and forth and an awful lot that is said. But I made a decision that I wanted to do something. So I took $10,000 as well as about $4,000 of personal money, and I purchased surgical masks and also N95 masks, because there are still spots. Working with the president, he's doing well, and we're obviously getting supplies and the things we need, but you still hear of issues and problems. And what's so nice about this is the company that's helping me with this is making no profit, is supplying these N95 masks for me. And it's going to be a decent amount, because again, we're spending about $14,000 on this. And it's just a little way that I wanted to help out. Personal money and campaign money. And I think that campaign money will go a lot farther and do a lot more good than some negative radio or TV ads. So thank you for highlighting that, and thank you for bringing that up. We're in this together, and we're going to do great things. I want to speak a little bit about some of the people that are just on the line in some way, who's always directing everything and doing a great job, and I'm so proud of her. Been with me 17 years, and you all know that. My Chief of Staff, Allison Murphy. Scott Weldon is on, who you just saw before, who has also been amazing with so many different issues we've been dealing with. I've actually lost my voice a few times in speaking to so many people, from anywhere from the minimum of 8 hours a day to 12 to 14 hours a day. And we also have something else very special on from Republic Bank, and his name is Vernon Hill. And let me just say that he's the chairman of Republic Bank, and Republic Bank serves Philadelphia and the Shore, and he's a leader. He's without a question a leader, and he is, there's no way else to say it, he's a genius in the SBA and the PPP program alone. And you may remember Vernon, a lot of people knew him and still do. He was the chairman and the founder of Commerce Bank. And he's not here as an advertisement for a bank. He's here just because he knows so much, and quite frankly, he can help all of us. Now, I don't have every answer to every question that's here, so I'm going to answer what I know, and then at times I'm going to ask Scott for help, and at times I'm going to ask Vernon for help, because I think they can give you the real answer and can really help a lot if that works for everybody else. Do we want to start?
I'm ready, if you're ready.
Okay, so the first question was from Deborah Pinter. And she says, Congressman Van Drew, how long should it take to hear from the SBA on a loan application? We filled out an application on April 2nd, 2020, and was accepted at that time. We would like to get back in business as soon as possible and get our employees back to work. And thank you for the information. So as we know, the federal government has been kind of clunky in dealing with this, and it's the biggest spending program in the history of the United States of America that has been done through the SBA. So it's had some kinks, and it's taken time, 2 to 3 weeks, I'd say generally. But Vernon, what do you think?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us to be with you and the Cape May team down there. We've watched what you do for many, many years. Let me just say a couple words to set the program out. This is a program to support small businesses through this time, and it's a lending program. It's generally available for businesses with 500 people or less. We do have certain problems with businesses at the shore because the current rules make it difficult to get the appropriate amount of money. Jeff and I and others are working with the government to get the rules altered so that the shore funds will be available. On this question, you can go to the Republic Bank website and apply on the website online. The banks approve the loans, the SBA does not approve the loans, but we have to submit your application to the SBA and get an account number. Generally, that takes only 1 or 2 days after we've received your information and it's complete. Let me introduce Marge Mann. Sit behind me, Marge, so they can see you, who's the expert on this, and talk about the process and time.
Okay, so generally, if we receive a completed application through our web portal, we'll process that application within 2 days and receive an SBA authorization number for you. At that point, we're going to move it into underwriting, which is when you may be contacted by part of our lending staff for additional information. And once we push that through the approval process, which should take another 1 to 2 days, we get into the documentation of the loan, and then we'll be back in touch with you to set up an appointment to close the loan and distribute the funds. Now, most of the funds, it's our preference that they be distributed into a Republic Bank account because that's how we can assure that you'll get the funds quicker. But I would say we need about 10 days from start to finish on the process.
And a lot of the lag is when the borrowers don't submit all the information they're required. There's
That's
no
correct.
credit approval here in the sense of a loan approval. It's all about complying with the SBA rules.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Smith has a question. She's self-employed. She has no employees. And she says, what's the best loan or grant that I should apply for? Self-employed individuals or needs and businesses could qualify for any of the 3 programs. And so, you know, I would just say, and again, we'll hear what Vern has to say and maybe Scott as well, unemployment, disaster loans, EIDL, advanced grant, and PPP that will allow for them to start. And that will start tomorrow, that they can actually do the PPP loans, which is tomorrow's 4/10, I hope I'm right, to apply. So it's changed a little bit by tomorrow, but Vern, if you want to touch on it a little bit, and then we can also have Scott Weldon from my office touch upon it.
So the 2 SBA loan programs, the PPP is the one we're talking about using, is the one that goes to the banks and you have the most speed on that. The SBA has a direct SBA program called EIDL, which is much more involved and much longer, and you can't use the proceeds for the EIDL and the PPP for the same use. Is that right, Mark?
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
generally, we've found that the PPP program is the best way. None of that affects your unemployment. The state has a small grant program. The only 2 conflicts, I think, are the 2 SBA programs.
And the other
Very good.
Jeff, hold
Sure.
on. Go ahead, Marge.
The other point I would make is that the PPP program has a loan forgiveness component that the EIDL program does not.
That's right. The key point is if you retain staff or rehire staff, a good portion of the loan is forgiven, subject to all the rules.
And I just add one piece to that. On the initial question about how long does it take for the SBA to process, if you piggyback that on for a self-employed individual, there's on the EIDL side, there's a $10,000 advance on that. So businesses that are looking to even if your loan is denied on the SBA, the government SBA site, that will still be processed and paid to you and without having to be reimbursed.
The 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the process is taking a little, like I said, 2 to 3 weeks on the SBA side to file those and get them out. So somewhere in that range. And even if you filed for the EIDL, which I know some people out there have, they are still processing them. So I know they initially had said 3 days, but I think they're moving to it's taking a little bit longer than that, but they're getting them out.
Okay.
Lisa Sincata is a hardscaping contractor. And she asks, as the weather gets nicer and the appeal of going to the shore starts getting into second home ownership minds, how will Cape May County be protected from an onslaught of visitors? Now, this is a question I'll answer. And it's a tough question, but it's an important one. So number one of the reasons I believe that everybody's got to be particularly careful way down in what I call deep South Jersey, Atlantic County, Cape May County, Cumberland County, Salem County, is because I don't know at what point of this curve we are on yet. Obviously, New York was a hot spot. North Jersey was a hot spot. We virtually had nothing happening down here, and now we are getting more and more cases every day. There were many of us that felt at this point in time, and there's no greater advocate for businesses and to keep businesses open and to have businesses functioning than I am, and I think everybody knows that. But I, along with other businesses and other people, were really concerned when so many people came in from New York and so many people came in from Philadelphia. We really did have some issues. They weren't utilizing personal spacing. You saw what was happening on the boardwalks. You saw what was happening on the beach. You still see what's happening even what I hear in Lower Township on the beach. The freeholders did a wonderful job, and the freeholders tried their best to make sure that this wouldn't happen and tried to limit that. So did some of the mayors really say, you know, we don't want to do this right now. We don't want people coming here to avoid the areas that they're in already. And why would you say that? Because we don't have the infrastructure, especially in Cape May County and in good parts of South Jersey, to deal with all that this could bring along if the numbers get too high. It really could be dangerous and it really could be problematic. Quite frankly, I just, I call it as I see it. This is not federal, this issue. This is a state issue. And the governor decided he would not do it. He would not stop folks at the border. As you know, Delaware is stopping folks at the border, and they won't put up with it. And nevertheless, we are not, and I understand the dangers and difficulties of stopping people at the border, but I also understand the dangers and difficulties we have now. A lot of people trying to enjoy the spring already, and it just isn't quite the time to be that close together. Personal spacing is important. And I know the freeholders tried. I know the mayors tried. I know that some mayors now, whether it be in Ocean City or the Wildwoods and other areas, are completely closing their boardwalks, and some are closing their beaches as well. The governor has closed the parks, but a lot of people coming down, and yes, it does concern me. I would have done this differently than the governor has done in this case, but that is solely up to the governor and not the president. The next question is Bill Boland of Cooltronics. It's a security company. They do all kinds of security. And the bank we do business with is a small local bank that is not handling PPP loans. Every other bank we have spoken to is only taking applications from their existing customers. So their existing bank won't do the business, and other banks won't do the business because they don't deal with the other banks. We have tried large, and we are trying to keep, let me say this again. We have tried large and small banks, but to no avail. We provide an essential service, but our business volume is way down, and we're trying to keep our employees working. Is there some way we can get an application into someone? Thank you so much. And this is one that I think Vernon Hill really can speak to very much.
Most of the banks are only doing these PPP loans for their current accounts. We at Republic are doing not only our current clients, but all the markets we serve. We're doing lots of loans, and we would be happy to take an application. Is it Carl that you just asked? All you have to do is go on.
Bill Boland.
I'm sorry, Bill. Go on the Republic Bank website. They'll jump you right to the SBA page, and off you go.
So that certainly is an answer. The other answer is that we are supposed to be trying to work on deregulation and helping banks enroll to make the program better for lenders. And finally, there are supposed to be some new banks joining every day, and we're going to find that out as we go along.
Yeah, and they've just released a web portal for lenders to take a look at and participate in the program. And as you mentioned, they're actually allowing, this is what they're trying to do, is banking organizations to neutralize regulatory capital effects by pulling back some of the buffers that they had in place. So we're hoping to see a lot more local banks get engaged on this as well.
Okay, thank you.
I would just say that's all true, Scott, but I would just say if the bank hasn't been involved in an SBA program and knows the ropes, put it this way, it's going to be very, very hard for them to start from scratch. But Republic is open, and we hope they check out our website.
Well, I could tell you got a favorite bank, that's for sure.
You think, huh? It's red, too.
So let me go on to a question from John Atwood. This is a good question. Is a restaurant owner as a patient also who is high risk for COVID-19? Can you talk about what the federal government will do legislatively following the coronavirus outbreak to make sure we have a robust private pharmaceutical industry ready to combat the next pandemic? So let me just get into this a little bit. It is shameful, quite frankly, what happened and where our supply chain is. And I'll be outspoken and I'm going to be very direct, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but we have to take care of first the people in the United States of America. We certainly want to help other people. We certainly want to work with other people. That doesn't mean that we don't, but right now we need to make sure that the United States of America manufactures, and not only manufactures prescription drugs and manufactures all kinds of prescriptions and health, accoutrements as well, that we manufacture in general, whether it's masks, whether it's gloves, whether it's personal protection, whether it is other areas of manufacturing. It's shameful that the United States doesn't do what it should do anymore. This country, and I'm going to digress a little bit, it's, in order to be strong, does need strong borders. It does need to manufacture its own products and needs to be strong. Quite frankly, I don't think any of this helps when we have sanctuary cities or sanctuary states. I think we need to be a strong country militarily, and we certainly need to be a strong country with our supply chain. I mean, it is unfathomable we do not make penicillin in the United States of America. That's mind-boggling. This has to stop. We have to have our own supply chain. We have to be the ones that are number one. And when it comes to everything to do with the medical needs that we have and all types of needs. So I really hope to work hard on this in the future. And, people should know. There was a question, whether how truthful or not truthful China has been, and I don't want to go into that now. I just want our people to get better. When we really knew, because China didn't tell us some things, even the World Health Organization wasn't as candid as it should have been, quite frankly, in my mind, and said there was nothing to worry about. Obviously, there was. And fortunately, whether people know it or not, it is fortunate that the President of the United States put in a travel ban before many other people said he should. And whether it was the WHO or the CDC or other groups said that there shouldn't be a travel ban, there's no need, and that this was something that was just shouldn't be done. And he was actually called some names for it. Thank God he did it. So the answer is this. To answer your question, Mr. Atwood, yes, we do need a better supply chain, and God help the United States of America and our Congress if we don't work on it. John Cook asks, and he's in the lodging business, and the Seacrest is his place, and he wants to know what the signs will be when we can look to know when we are getting close to getting back to normal and ready to open for business. And there'll be a lot of ways that you'll know. I think that you're going to know because we're literally hearing from the president not just about every day, as well as his team and his task force, and they're bringing us along. This isn't going to happen all at once. So New York is not going to open up the same way and at the same time as North Dakota. These are different states with different issues and different problems. Some states have much less of a problem than does North Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and some other areas. I always shiver a little bit when they say New Jersey and New York, because North Jersey and South Jersey, as we all know, are very different, and we have had much less of a problem down here. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts on that. As far as when we'll know, but that's going to be one of the ways we'll know. Obviously, we're going to see businesses open up. We're going to get the go-ahead from state and federal government. We hope it's going to be as soon as possible, and that's a good question. Don't ask me, because you will hear different answers from different people, whether it's going to be in the end of April or May or June. As you know, the primary has already been changed. The primary for New Jersey is now the first Tuesday of July. So there are different thoughts on this. Anything for that? Anybody wanna? Okay, here we'll go. Freeholder, one of our freeholders, Marie Hayes. And again, I wanna thank the freeholders. They all have been literally breaking their back to get this work done. And it isn't easy. County government is where a lot of this kind of lands on. Cape May County government, we've been told that the federal aid to counties will be based on the number of full-time residents. In our peak season, our population increases almost tenfold. Is there any consideration being given to the calculation of assistance to these counties? Absolutely. And, you know, Vern and I and others are trying to work on it, just as far as the loans and some of the financial programs that go on. When this whole program was put together, I tried to get information over there. As you know, Secretary Mnuchin and just a few people in leadership put it together. And in all honesty, the people who are in seasonal businesses really got the short end of the stick with this. So I know Vern's going to talk about a couple of ideas that he has that I agree with and that I think Scott also agree with. So Vern, you want to take a first shot at it?
To solve the problem you just mentioned, right?
Yes.
The present program calculates the maximum loan as 2.5 times your average monthly salaries for the spring of last year. But we know that doesn't work at the shore. So we are working with the government at various levels, and I know Jeff is too, to spread out the time that you can count the eligible payroll. Marge, what's our newest plan? Make it a 12-month plan?
It is. Our newest plan is to make it the highest 3 months out of the last 12 months.
Because this is not only a plan for the shore, it's going to affect other parts of America that are only open certain months of the year. We've been talking to various parts of the government, but we need a change here, Jeff.
We definitely need a change. It is absolutely unfair to the seasonal businesses. I tell you, the seasonal businesses always have to work, you know, twice as hard. And the amazing thing about it is without seasonal businesses, this state would be in trouble. I mean, we're always number 2 or 3 in the state of New Jersey. And this is the one thing that gives me hope is that it isn't just New Jersey. This is an issue. There's seasonal businesses all over the country, whether they're in California, whether they're in New England, wherever they are. So exactly. So I really think that, you know, hopefully some like-minded people are really going to get together and make this work. God knows, because, you know, the unfortunate part of all this is the way these deals are being worked out. We were involved in the initial portion because the initial portion, we were able to stay there in Washington, to be at the Capitol. And then it became obvious, it became more and more dangerous for us to be there. And in fact, we couldn't even on this last deal, a whole bunch of folks had to actually be up in the gallery because you had to have that spacing between people. And when you're up in the gallery, you can't even vote mechanically. You can't do a machine vote. It's not meant for that. It's meant for people to look and see and observe what's going on. So we have one particular congressman who keeps being difficult about this and insisting that everyone should show up, or the majority should show up. And believe me, I want to show up, but I don't want to get other people sick. And you know, we have young Congress people and we've got older ones. And if the older ones are sitting too close to somebody who's sick, God knows. As I said, I lost a friend of mine that was 72 yesterday.
Jeff, so let's try to explore this fix in the new bill they're about to pass to add more funding to the PPP program.
I agree. So hopefully we get there, and we need your input and help too. You know a lot of people.
I'm on.
Scott,
I would also add to Freeholder Hayes, as a prerequisite for some of the funding to the counties and localities themselves, there were some thresholds on population. The rest of the formula, it was 500,000 counties with 500,000 or less monies were divvied directly to the states. So the governor is going to be very involved in providing some resources down to the county as well. So I would make sure that you're staying in continued touch with that office as well. But yeah, and we also put out, and to piggyback off what you said, sir, was we agree 100% with Vernon's suggestions on changing the PPP for seasonal employees. There were a couple other pieces that we had discussed as well, looking to allow some other 501c into the mix on that as well. And I know there were some questions from some stakeholders of yours about that. I'm happy to go into a little bit more detail. And I know back to Freeholder Hayes question, there's some municipal bond questions that we're still working out right now for hopefully we'll have squared away by the time we get through the second or the next phase of the deal.
Scott, just to follow up, the law presently in place, which is new for the SBA, allows loans to religious organizations and nonprofit organizations, and certain towns and municipalities can borrow too.
Correct.
And that was one thing that I look forward to, the nonprofits, and that actually did work out. That was something that I worked on and really tried to push along with some others. And Scott, thank you for bringing up about the county funds, because what happened there was they used this formula, which I do not like, okay? So this formula, as far as money going to the counties, some counties got a little bit. Of course, the North Jersey counties got a great deal. Salem County and the Northwest counties got zero. So 4 counties didn't get any money at all. And it was determined by population of the cities and determined by the population of the county. And it was also determined by housing. And it was determined by some formulas used in housing. And it just wasn't fair. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm going to really push to try to straighten that out as well. But back to your point, Scott, we already have been bugging the governor, because this money, again, this is not money that comes through the federal government. The way the most of this happens is the federal government, yes, does get the money. It gives it to the governor and the state, and then they disseminate it. So he still has money that can be disseminated to Cape May County some more, and Cape May County did get some for the county, and can be given to Salem County. And just so Salem County knows, they get all the money that everybody else gets, except the money that the county government was supposed to get, but everything else goes to them. So there was some confusion about that. But that's all disseminated through the governor, coming from the feds. We all have to work on the governor to make sure that South Jersey isn't forgotten about.
Jeff, just let me say one thing about it. We're at the point where the people who want to reopen their businesses at the shore need to know they're going to have available funding. We're not in a position to help most of them because of these rules. And if we don't get these fixed soon, there's going to be very little support for the shore businesses this year.
I know, and I worry about it at least as much as you do. We're just going to give it everything we got. I mean, I know you have. I have contacted the president. We've contacted Mnuchin. We've contacted other people at other levels, contacted the state. But really, in this particular case, I want the feds to initially allocate that money, so then it can actually go right down to the local businesses that need it.
Well, on the PPP loan program, if they change the rules today, we could start taking applications the next day. And I know businesses at the shore need to know what's going to happen.
Okay, let me see what the next question is. Landscaping, from Sherry McHale. With the possibility of the new executive order being signed for non-essential construction, you know that there was a change in the executive order for construction from the governor, and non-essential construction no longer is allowed outside. Would landscaping still be considered essential under the new order? Unfortunately, I don't think so. But what we will do, Scott, I'm going to ask you if you can look into that. And
Absolutely.
if Cheryl will get back to our office and ask for Scott Weldon at our congressional office, we will get that information for you to make sure one way or the other. Judy Laporta, Little Oaks Campground, what can be done to entice the local banks in Cape May County to become involved in SBA loans and other financial programs? I'll let you take this one.
We're making loans in the PPP program at the shore right now, Atlantic, Cape May, and Ocean County right now, for certain types of businesses that can get through this test about your payrolls. So it's not that we don't want to do it. We'd like to do more, and we're doing them right now. So I'm not sure about camping businesses. Are you, Marge? Are they all eligible?
They should be eligible. I can't think of it.
If you haven't tried, go on our website, go the application route, and we'll see if we can get it through.
And what is that website again? Republic?
Republic Bank, FRBK.com, I think it is. Didn't we send out, Scott, some stuff about the program that had a link to our site?
Mm-hmm. And I'll make sure everybody has access to that.
So it has a brief summary of the whole program, and it has a link to our site that takes you right to the SBA page.
And by the way, we don't support one bank or another or anybody. It's just when we have people that are knowledgeable in the business world on any subject. Quite frankly, we take advantage of that because it helps a lot. And there's no question that we have an individual here. Vernon is really knowledgeable about this stuff.
Yeah, and I would also just like to point out, one of the things that we've discussed from the administration down is I think a lot of the concerns from businesses were, if I can't get into the program, will it run out of money before I'm able to access these funds? We have been talking with the president's office, and from everything we've heard and from everything that we've seen, we have Republicans, Democrats, and the executive branch rowing in the same direction to add an additional $251 billion to this program for the next round. So right now we've seen I think a little more than $100 billion have gone out the door for this program already. So if people are concerned, we are going to keep that program funded and continue to keep it funded so that people feel that they know that they can access the program once they need to.
Which is what it's for. Hopefully nobody will try to squeeze in the new Green Deal. Dagmar Chu, he is from the Homestead Real Estate Company. He wants to get back to work. We employ 28 families, all depending on us if we do not get back to work soon. We simply will not survive. What date are you looking at to open up the county? We need a clear date in which we can take precautions and act responsibly, but if our economy gets crushed, we will lose more lives to joblessness than ever to this virus. Get back to work. So that's somewhat what the president has been saying. He wants to make sure that the cure is not worse than the disease. And we all understand that. And this is a hard call to make. The president, at the end of the day, to a great degree, is going to set the model and set the trend here. And he's looking at it hard because whether personally speaking to him, hearing from him, watching him every day, they've made it clear that he has made it absolutely clear that he wants to get back as quickly as possible. We also have to deal with the doctors and, you know, the MDs and the others who want to make sure that we don't get people very sick or start another cycle all over again. So, Dagmar, I agree with you, man. Not only do I want everybody to get back to work, I just want to get out of the house. You know, I'm a person that likes to get around, and I think that we all do. And we want to just open up this county and this state and this country. If we don't do that, we're going to be in deep trouble. And that's the purpose of all of this funding and all of this borrowing that's being allowed, so that people have the money to hang in there. So when we do open up, we're ready to go and we don't lose too many businesses. If we didn't do this, I literally think we would be in a deep recession or a depression. And I don't love doing it because it's going to increase our, debt a great deal, but we have no choice. And the choice here is to make sure that we can open up. My guess would be, and I don't know that I'm right, I'm hoping sometime in May. I really am hoping sometime in May. And that's what I hear. Scott, you hear anything different?
Mnuchin has come out and even as of this morning or last night was talking about opening up parts of the economy back up over the course of the next 6 weeks or so, and looking for time in May when that can happen. Now, it's hard to say that what that exact time frame is. Obviously, they're going to play it on as safe of a case-by-case basis as they can make, but we're hopeful that at some point in the next couple of months, we'll be back up and running.
Okay. This is the last question, and I'm going to try to pronounce Rebecca's name correctly. Rebecca Sesda. It seems that many cannot get through to unemployment for issues with an existing claim, not for a new sign-up. My husband has not been able to get through to anyone for 3 weeks. Let me stop right there. Call our office, ask for John Kirk. We know some people on the inside. We work hard on this. We know how to do it. Just don't wait for 3 weeks and have nothing happen. You call our office, okay? And I'll give you at some point, I have it somewhere here, my telephone number so you can do that. Why would unemployment offices close in a time of need like this? Unemployment can wear face masks just like the employees at Acme and at other stores. How can people in need, to speak of an actual person, be able to get in touch with the Labor or Unemployment Office of New Jersey? Well, you can go through us, because quite frankly, we're going to get you going faster and get it done faster than anybody else I know. And I'm not saying we won't have problems, we will, but my people, we have 2 and 3 people at a time working on this. Our office number in Washington is 202-225-6572. Ask for Director John Kirk. If you don't get that number, our office in Mays Landing is 609-625-5008. You will get one of those numbers to work. We are not in either office because we are not allowed to be because of the virus. However, what we've set up is we're always in complete contact. All my staff, all my employees, we all have 2 phones. So when you call that number, it's immediately transferred to one of our cell phones. We pick up. We have the stationery at home. We have the materials. We have the information. So, you know, we're working. Most folks are working to 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. I've been working a few nights where I've been working till 10 o'clock at night from early in the morning. So we're there to help. We'll do everything we can. Just don't sit around for weeks with this unemployment. Call John Kirk and see if there's something he can do. Okay? That's all
I think it's good to kind of just go over a little bit of that program as well. And I know from the business side, there have been a little bit of concerns on some of the provisions in that. If you filed for unemployment, the state has not probably processed the new additional funds that were going to be available. So we passed in the CARES Act an additional $600 per week up to for employees to augment what they'd be making on state unemployment. So that program's taken a little bit longer for the state to enact. Now they've had it for a couple of weeks, and my understanding is it will be going into effect at some point in the next 3 to 5 business days.
But Scott, they should get an answer. They
should get an answer, correct. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, and just for some information on the program itself, it'll bump back retroactively if you've applied for the unemployment benefits and have not received them yet.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Well, I think I've done what I'm supposed to do, right, Vic? And
Absolutely.
Scott has. Vern, I don't know if you had anything else.
Just the people that are on the call. If you haven't applied through our website for the PPP program, you got nothing to lose by trying, and we'll try to fix it in to the SBA boxes. We might be able to get it through their boxes, and we might not. But if you're interested, I suggest you go try.
Thank you, Vern.
And from our office's standpoint, I would just like to say, if you have any questions or issues on any of the existing programs that we have in place, whether it be the disaster relief loans, whether it be the PPP, or questions about unemployment, reach out to our office and we can help connect you to the right people and try and solve some problems for you as well. I know that we've helped a lot of businesses, and we're trying to connect people in the best way that we can right now. So make sure to reach out if you have questions on any of the existing programs.
And I look forward at some point to seeing you all. We're going to have a big Chamber of Commerce party. Nobody's told me that yet, but I'm just saying it anyhow, because we desperately need one. And please, 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 please be safe. This is no joke. Please be safe. I'm not saying to be hyper, but again, wear the mask when you go out, wash your hands, change your clothes when you come in, do all the things that they tell you that you should do, and you're going to be okay. And I hope God blesses all of you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Scott, and also Vernon, for joining us today. Your information has been so helpful. Joining us has been so reassuring, and we just very much appreciate all that you're doing for us in Washington, D.C., although remotely. And we appreciate your leadership and your service to our country and to our community very much. Thank all of you for joining us today, for your questions And I'd like to invite you, our next scheduled program right now is going to be next Tuesday, the 14th at 10 o'clock. We have another SBA webinar to talk more about these programs and give you more in-depth information. And if by then there are any updates to some of the things that were talked about today, we'll get that information from John Blackstock. So wish all of you a good day. Again, thank you to Congressman Van Drew, Scott Weldon, and Vernon Hill. Thank you so much, and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
And goodbye.